We may be nearly a month into winter, but you wouldn't know it if you stepped outside. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Marcella Lee, in for Barbara Lee Edwards.
I'm Carlo Cicchetto. 16 heat records were set in Southern California, 7 of them right here in San Diego County. And the warmer and drier weather brings a fire danger with it.
Chief Meteorologist Carlene Chavis will have your weekend forecast in just a moment. But first, News 8's Teresa Sardina has more on the heat wave from Mount Soledad.
Look at this incredible view from Mount Soledad. Well, many are bundling up in the Midwest. Here across the county, there's dry and warm temps, no need for a jacket.
We've been dealing with blizzards. I know, Teresa, when you guys talk about blizzards, you're going to Dairy Queen and having a great treat.
Blizzards in the Midwest, sunshine in San Diego. We're talking weather with Chief Meteorologist Chris Schaefer of WCCO TV from the rooftop of the CBS station in downtown Minneapolis, near Minnesota, in the snow on Zoom while News 8 reports from Mount Soledad and La Jolla.
I'm so jealous.
Schaefer says west of the Minneapolis-St. Paul area, there's been a blizzard warning.
The wind is averaging over 35 miles per hour. It's snowing. You can't see more than a quarter of a mile. It's awful and obviously dangerous. These winter storm warnings, you see them coming, and you talk about them for days, and everybody's obsessed, of course, about the snow totals. How much snow are we going to get? But it's fun. I mean, we were in danger of having a brown Christmas this year, which you guys have every year. But the kids don't like those here. So fortunately, we got about 8 inches of snow.
A different view here throughout the county in mid-January. Santa Ana winds, dry and warm temperatures raise fire weather concerns. Our local mountains and East County reach the 90s. Along the coast, many are soaking up the sun in the 80s.
It feels so nice.
San Diegans say it does not feel like winter.
It's sunny. Beach is right here. It's beautiful. The water's a little cold, but the weather's great.
Right now in San Diego, Friday afternoon, it is 83 degrees. What is it like for you in Minnesota?
A whopping 34. And I got to tell you, that's mild for this time of year.
Let's see how long these dry and warm temperatures will stick around. Let's check in with Chief Meteorologist Carlene Chavis.
Thanks, Teresa. And Chris, you're more than welcome to come and visit us anytime and soak in this sunshine. We are definitely talking about some toasty temperatures for today, and they're going to stick around for tomorrow, but it will be a little bit cooler. We had some 90s stretching towards the coast. 92 degrees was the high today for Oceanside, 90 degrees for Carlsbad, 88 degrees for downtown, as well as some 90s that we had for the valleys, 94 degrees in Vista today. Temperatures for tomorrow, as I mentioned, they're going to come down just a little bit, but they're still going to be above seasonal by about 10 to 15 degrees. So still talking about warmer than usual temperatures tomorrow as the 80s look to stick around most of the valleys, as well as 70s returning to the coast, which is a nice break from 90s that we had earlier today, unless you really like these toasty temperatures. So it's summertime just in January. And taking a look at the setup, we have an area of high pressure that triggered the Santa Ana winds that also helped to bring temperatures to the toasty side. That's going to move towards the east. Yet another high moves in for tomorrow, and we still have an elevated fire risk to talk about as well. So all those details and which cities broke records coming up. Back to you.
Tonight, county health officials are reporting 2,695 new coronavirus cases. That's 9% of the more than 30,000 tests that came back positive. 337 additional hospitalizations are being reported. Hospitals are now 82% full. 8 more COVID patients were admitted to intensive care, and we are now down to 10% availability in the ICU. 32 more deaths were also reported today, bringing the death toll to 2,037.
San Diego reaches a new grim milestone of more than 2,000 COVID-19 deaths and more than 204,000 cases since the start of the pandemic.
As News 8's Alicia Summers shows us, these numbers are much more than a statistic.
The grim local milestone of more than 2,000 deaths comes as the new virus variant is picking up steam, and unfortunately, this is hurting the Latinx community more. 2,005 people have died of COVID-19 in San Diego County since the pandemic began, and the Latino community is being disproportionately affected.
Infection rates amongst Latinos here in San Diego County was about 63%. and then deaths were about 50%. Now both of those numbers have decreased a little bit in terms of percentages, but they're still very, very high and disproportionate when you consider that Latinos make up 34% of the population here in San Diego County.
And Latinas are affected even more.
I think it's because of the responsibilities that Latinas have in terms of taking care of the family, and that doesn't go away even if they have symptoms or they're not feeling well. There is a real story behind every single one of those numbers.
Like the Dotingas family story.
This is affecting more and more families each day, and it's coming closer and closer to all of us.
Randy sees more than just a 2005 death toll statistic. COVID took his father, Ralph Dotinga's life right before Christmas. The 85-year-old survived 2 heart attacks, 1 cardiac arrest, a quadruple bypass, diabetes, and crippling falls, but not COVID.
Most important pre-existing condition was that he was alive. And thanks to the pandemic, he's not alive.
The CDC is now warning the new, more contagious virus variant first identified in Britain could fuel huge spikes in COVID cases and is expected to spread wildly and lead to further strains in our already overburdened healthcare system.
We each play a role when we decide not to wear a mask, when we decide to get together with friends, and every single time we do that, we're contributing to these numbers.
The grim local milestone comes as the CDC says the new virus variant of COVID-19 is projected to become the dominant source of infection in the U.S. by March.
And the number of dead has now reached 237 in San Diego County. The push to distribute the COVID-19 vaccine across the county of San Diego ramped up today in one of the hardest hit regions. A new vaccination site is now open in Imperial Beach to bolster the fight against the pandemic in the South Bay.
This is the people that I grew up with. They live here, and so we want to make sure that people have the services that they deserve, and we're going to make it easy and accessible for them.
It's going to be nice and easy.
The site hopes to administer up to 500 vaccine doses a day. Once it ramps up to full capacity, you have to make an appointment, and right now they are only open for healthcare workers and people in phase 1A. After being used as a mass COVID testing site for months, Dodger Stadium in LA is now one of the nation's biggest vaccination locations. Mayor Eric Garcetti says they will start out administering around 2,000 doses a day, but once fully operational, they hope to vaccinate up to 12,000 people daily. 5 more sites will soon open around LA County, including the Forum in Inglewood and Six Flags in Magic Mountain. And I do want to correct my correction. It's 2,037 San Diegans have died from COVID.
Dozens of schools around San Diego County joined others throughout the state today in holding rallies to advocate for the safe return to youth sports.
The movement is called Let Them Play. And as News 8's Shannon Handy explains, it's not just about sports.
This started as a grassroots effort on Facebook, which quickly spread. Now we're here outside Scripps Ranch High School, one of several schools locally as well as throughout the state that all held rallies at the exact same time, 4 o'clock. Those out here say getting back on the field isn't just important for play, but mental health.
From Scripps Ranch High School to Granite Hills and Mission Hills in San Marcos, Let Them Play rallies were held all over the county and state Friday as a plea, let kids in California compete in sports.
We are of the belief our governor has a responsibility to our kids over everyone else and everything else. So please, Governor Newsom, hear us. Work with us.
Earlier in the day, coaches, parents, and players joined County Supervisor Jim Desmond to explain what life has been like without competitive sports. Claims range from deteriorating mental health to kids quitting something they once loved.
As a mental health therapist, I've seen an increase in anxiety, depression, ADHD, suicide ideation, suicide attempts, and unfortunately, some of those attempts come to fruition.
The common refrain we hear is, why should I get out of bed and practice and work hard if there's not going to be a game or a season? What's the point?
Another concern, opportunities for college.
Deserving athletes in California are losing out on scholarships to lesser athletes in states like South Carolina, New Jersey, and Utah. And what we hear from college coaches is, how can I bet on an athlete when I haven't seen them play in almost a year?
In California, youth sports competition is banned until at least January 25th. Beyond that, it depends on the sport and what tier a county is in. For example, while cross country is okay in the purple tier, football and soccer can only be played competitively in the orange. This group maintains there's a way to make it work safely.
The data that says The children are safer in our structured, supervised environments than they are hanging out with their friends. Because if you think parents have been keeping their teenagers locked up since March, you're lying to yourself. They're doing all sorts of things that help spread the virus. When they're with us, they have face masks. They're socially distanced.
Governor Newsom, please let us play.
And that last person you heard from is a high school student here who actually just signed to play football at Duke University. He says he wants to speak out for other students who may not have the chance.
Thanks, Shannon. Still no sign tonight of a Chula Vista mother who went missing a week ago. Another community search is being held today for May Millette. She was last seen on January 7th at her home. So far, police have found no evidence of a crime and say Millette's husband, Larry, is cooperating. He told News 8 last night he is grateful for the community support and is holding out hope she will be found. He says he is worried because she missed their daughter's birthday on Sunday.
Federal law enforcement agencies say the cost of securing next week's inauguration is close to $35 million. Nearly 25,000 National Guard members are expected to be on the ground on the day of the ceremony.
Skylar Henry reports from Capitol Hill, where the House Speaker has announced new investigation efforts.
The nation's capital is in lockdown, 5 days ahead of the inauguration of President-elect Joe Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris.
Yes.
We cannot allow a recurrence of the chaos and illegal activity that the United States and the world witnessed last week.
The Justice Department reported on a Friday conference call the bulk of 98 criminal cases filed so far in connection to last week's Capitol assault are federal felony cases. D.C.'s acting U.S. Attorney Michael Sherwin added that right now there is no direct evidence teams of rioters were looking to capture or kill during the assault, but investigations are ongoing.
That is a Tier 1 top priority for both the U.S. Attorney's Office and our federal law enforcement partners to see, again, whether there was this overarching command and control and whether there were these organized teams that were organized to breach the Capitol and then perhaps try to accomplish some type of a mission inside the Capitol.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has authorized her own review of Capitol security in light of last week's assault.
I have asked retired Lieutenant General Russell Honore to lead an immediate review of security infrastructure, interagency processes, and command and control.
A source close to Vice President Mike Pence confirms a Washington Post report that he was rushed away from the Senate chamber just 1 minute before rioters reached nearby halls. In a statement to CBS News, the U.S. Secret Service said Vice President Pence was secure at all times on January 6th. We're here on Capitol Hill. I'm Skylar Henry, News 8.
A U.S. official has confirmed to CBS News that a new intelligence bulletin was issued yesterday. It warns that domestic extremists pose the biggest threat to Wednesday's inauguration.